I'm Hillary Hendershot, your host, and this is Profit Boss Radio, episode 87. Profit Boss Radio is your weekly wealth mastermind. Profit Boss is also a community and a movement for women who are ready to take control of their money, break the glass ceiling, and give ourselves permission to finally have enough. Want the secrets of wealth to be yours? This is the place. I'm Hillary Hendershot. I'm a certified financial planner running a leading advisory firm for women, and I'm sharing with you real stories from real life and real women who are making it happen. Forget Wall Street. Let's do this, ladies. Friend of the show, Erica Mandy, over at the Newsworthy podcast, is back with another news segment, especially for Profit Boss Radio listeners. If you, like me, have signed off the news for many years because it was really, frankly, too hard to listen to, and you've been hoping for something fair and fun, unopinionated, unbiased, Erica's got that for you at the Newsworthy podcast. Just check out the Newsworthy wherever you find your podcasts. Also, Erica has an amazing and generous offer for those of you who choose to sign up for her email list at thenewsworthy.com. She'll pick one of you to receive a free ticket to Profit Boss Live. So the last day to sign up for that special promo is Sunday, December 10th. So don't delay.
Hey, Profit Boss Radio listeners, I'm Erica Mandy, and this is your fast, fair, and fun financial version of the Newsworthy. There's a new leader at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, aka the CFPB. This is the agency meant to protect consumers from unfair business and financial practices, essentially a financial watchdog over businesses. It was put in place several years ago after the 2008 financial crisis. But there was some drama about who would take over last month. Two people both said, I have the right to lead. The New York Times says one was appointed by the guy who used to have the job but retired. The other was chosen by President Trump. And let's just say they both showed up on their first day. Awkward. In the end, it went to court. The judge sided with President Trump, which means a guy named Mick Mulvaney is now in charge. And this is the same guy who has been one of the most critical people of the CFPB in the past. So we'll see what he does now that he's the one in charge. In case you missed it, Amazon had its biggest shopping day ever on Cyber Monday. CNBC reports more products than ever before were ordered off of Amazon.com within one day. The top selling item? The Echo Dot, that small smart speaker. Overall, on Cyber Monday, orders made just from smartphones reached $2 billion within 24 hours for the first time. Home prices are way up, at least in more than 150 of the largest metro areas. Business Insider says home prices went up 92% compared to the same time last year, and that incomes aren't really keeping up. To qualify for a mortgage right now in the top 5 metro areas, mostly in California, by the way, you need to make more than $110,000. And that is your financial news for today. For a complete look at the day's news in less than 10 minutes, Monday through Friday, check out the full version of The Newsworthy. Just go to thenewsworthy.com or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, if you sign up to get the Newsworthy episodes sent straight to your email, you will be entered for a chance to win a free ticket to Hillary's Profit Boss Live event. So go sign up at thenewsworthy.com, click Get Episodes by Email, and tell me you heard about it from Profit Boss Radio. You'll be in the know and have a chance to win. The winner will be announced December 12th.
Today we are talking with Melanie Lockert, author of Dear Debt, the book, and Dear Debt, the blog. And by Dear Debt, I mean a Dear John letter, as in, we are breaking up. I'm also so excited that Melanie has come on board with my team as we're preparing for Profit Boss Live in January. Melanie really gets the value of community because earlier this year, she co-founded a personal finance event for women called the Lola Retreat. She saw firsthand how women coming together creates miracles. So she's bringing her lessons learned and promo skills to Profit Boss Live to make the magic happen. Have you purchased your ticket for Profit Boss Live yet? Look, if you're as much as a plane ride away from San Jose, you've got to make this happen. Profit Boss Live is just one day. So for those of you with schedule concerns, I know you can dedicate one day to your financial goals. We all know that most people spend more time planning their next vacation than their financial future, so this event can be your leg up. You know me and you know how I roll. It'll be a totally safe space, completely judgment-free zone. You can ask me anything. There are no bad questions. And what gets said at Profit Boss Live stays at Profit Boss Live. We're not sharing each other's stories on social media. There won't be any videography. You can come expecting a transformation. You'll come away from the event with a custom wealth plan just right for you and new friends who are at the same place you are, your new wealth mastermind. We'll dedicate time to each of the 7 steps to wealth. And if you haven't heard that episode, it's number 77. If you master the 7 steps to wealth, you will master your money. You can finally work when you want to work, pay off the debt, fully fund your savings with ease, pay for the kids to go to college. You can stop worrying about money, and Profit Boss Live is your entry ticket. So what's stopping you? Time? It's only one day. Money? It's an investment in your most important asset, you. Distance? I have one word for you, southwest.com. You need something to kickstart your 2018 financial New Year's resolutions, and this is it. So pick up your ticket at early bird prices today. Early bird ticket prices expire on December 18th, so don't delay. Go to profitbosslive.com and enjoy this conversation between me and Melanie Lockert. Melanie, welcome to Profit Boss Radio.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I am so excited about this conversation. I just opened up this bio of yours and I knew that you wrote the book, Dear Debt. I mean, I email you almost every day now and your email address is Dear Debt. So,
Yes.
So I knew that you had paid off a lot of debt, but wow, $81,000 in student loan debt. Amazing.
Yes.
So tell us about your come to Jesus moment when you realized you had to get rid of the debt and then how it went from there.
Yeah, so I borrowed in total $81,000 for my 2 degrees. I borrowed $23,000 for my undergrad degree at California State University, Long Beach, and then I got another $58,000 of student loan debt from NYU. You know, NYU was my dream school, and I thought, I will take anything to go there. And
right, I'll mortgage my future.
I know, exactly. And so, I took on all of this debt, and it was $81,000 paid off in the course of 9 years. But really, the kind of impressive part, the people that like to focus on, is that I paid off $68,000 of that in 4.5 years. So, I went to school at 2 different times. And so, I initially, once I graduated with my BA, I just sort of treated my student loans like a bill, didn't really think much of it. And I paid the minimum, even though I could have afforded more. Mm-hmm. I just thought, why would I even pay more? I don't have to. And then, I went to NYU, took on a lot more debt. And even after paying my student loans for 5 years, I graduated from NYU with $68,000 left. And it's quite funny because, I graduated and I knew I had to find a job and I knew I had student loans, but I didn't really know how much I had. And so I created a mint.com account and I synced all my accounts and I synced up my loans, and within a few days, I just deleted the account. I could not, I could not deal with it.
Yeah.
I was just so stressed out with my income and my expenses and seeing the number in black and white. And so, something that I mentioned in my book is that, paying off debt is a lot like the 5 stages of grief. And the first one was definitely denial for me. I just was like, nope, this doesn't exist. I'm going to delete this account. I'll figure this out later.
See if they'll lower my minimum payments.
Exactly.
Right.
And so really, 6 months later, I had gone on 30 different interviews in New York, just all of these arts education nonprofits, all of these program coordinator jobs. I had kind of a background in arts education before this. And I just, for the life of me, kept getting closer to getting a job, but I was always like between 1 and 2 candidates, and I was always the one they didn't pick. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. And so December of 2011, 6 months after graduation, I still didn't have a full-time job. And, it's really impossible to live in New York and pay your student loans if you don't have a full-time job.
Pretty much.
So
and I think it's worth pointing out here that your degree, your master's degree, is in arts and performance studies.
Yeah.
And so even if you had got a job, I may be speaking out of turn here, but if you have got those jobs that you were applying for, would you have been making 40, 45,000, something like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been making that much because I was in, the whole nonprofit field.
Right.
So before that, my highest salary was 38,000. So yeah, I wasn't looking at, a super high salary even then for sure. So, at that point, I just kind of realized I couldn't afford to live in New York. And I was so bummed because I love New York. New York was my dream. And I kind of felt like debt was pushing me out of New York. And so I moved to Portland, Oregon. My then partner was there and decided to move there to be with him and lower my expenses. My rent was cut in half. I didn't have a car. I didn't have, health insurance at the time. This was pre-ACA. And I just eliminated so many expenses. But I thought moving to Portland, I'd be a big fish in a small pond and I would do much better there. And the economy at that time was way worse there. And pretty much within the first year and a half, all I could land was $10 to $12 an hour temp jobs. And I was so frustrated. And for a period of time when I first moved to Portland, I was on food stamps and I was so humbled and felt like, oh my gosh, I would have never saw this future for myself that, I would graduate from NYU with a master's degree and then find a job, making $10 to $12 an hour and on food stamps. And so I felt a lot of shame and depression and anxiety with my student loan debt. And like I said, I only got those temp jobs for the first year and a half. And it wasn't until May 2013 that I finally found a nonprofit job as an events and communications coordinator, which is funny because that's pretty much what I do now on my own. I was an events and communications coordinator making $31,000. But before that, as I said, my student loan debt really caused me a lot of grief and depression and anxiety. And in January 2013, 6 months before I finally got that job, that had already been a year in Portland with not much progress. My student loans were consuming me. And, I was kind of being obsessed with it and being kind of annoying. My then boyfriend and my parents were sick of me always talking about it. And I kept thinking, what can I do to turn this negative energy into something positive? Because it's clearly just, taking over all of my life. How can I channel this energy to actually pay it off? And, I had really gotten into personal finance blogs and I thought, I don't feel like I've really, heard someone with my story. I don't have any credit card debt. I don't really spend above my means. I just don't make a lot and I have a lot of student loans. And I thought, I think there's a space for me here in the personal finance world. So I decided to start a blog called Dear Debt. And my first post was January 3rd, 2013. I had $57,000 left at that time. And I committed to the world. I mean, pretty much my mom was my only reader at that point. But, I said, I'm going to pay off the rest of this debt in 4 years. And I didn't know how that was going to happen.
Did you just pick that number out of the air?
I just picked that number because I wanted something that was scary, but something that seemed semi-reasonable because I was just so frustrated and felt engulfed with my debt. I wanted to see kind of the end of the rainbow, right? That there was an end of this journey. So I said, I'm going to pay off the rest of this $57,000 in the next 4 years. And at that time, I was making $12 an hour. So theoretically, there was really no way, given my current circumstances, that I was going to make that happen. But so many crazy things happened since I made that declaration. And I actually paid off that amount in 3 years instead of 4. So I'm a big believer in writing down your goals because I feel like everything that happened after that, I finally got that $31,000 nonprofit job, which wasn't a lot, but compared to making 16 to 20K, it was a lot. Because I got into personal finance blogging, I realized that people were side hustling through freelance writing and through social media and through editing. And I thought, well, I have a master's degree. I wrote a lot. This is something that I can do. And I started pitching other blogs and pitching other companies. And I started, with a freelance side hustle. And within a year of, me having that nonprofit job and side hustling with freelance writing, my writing income matched my nonprofit income.
Wow.
So yeah, it was crazy. So, just shortly, like a year and a half after starting my blog, my side hustle income was matching my nonprofit income. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, if I'm making, you know, as much as I am on the side, like what would happen if I freed up 8 hours of my day? And so I made the bold decision to quit that nonprofit job. I was so desperate to find a full-time job, and everyone was like, why are you quitting this after a year? Like, you were so desperate to find this job. And I was like, no, I really believe in myself, and I really believe that I can make a lot more money if I go on my own. And I was right. In that first year of business, I was able to double my income. So I went from making $31,000 to $61,000, and I kept my expenses the same. My rent was $400 at that time. And, I had cut back pretty much all of my expenses. So I started putting, thousands of dollars to debt, just every single month. And,
you were really motivated.
I was so motivated. I wanted my debt to be gone. And, through the breakup letters on the website and through the community that I created on my blog, I just had all of this inspiration to really keep going. And, my business just continued to increase my income. I feel like through entrepreneurship and freelancing, I was able to make the amount of money that I probably would never be able to make at a real job, given my history, as a nonprofit worker.
Yeah.
So that was, really amazing to me, and something that I still appreciate to this day. And yeah, I really credit earning more to really help me getting out of debt finally. And so December 10th, 2015, I paid off all of my debt. I made that last payment and had a little dance party in my living room and just screamed and cried because it was such a crazy journey. And like I said, I paid off that debt within 3 years of that declaration instead of 4. And so many crazy things in the universe conspired to help me reach that goal. And it's just been a crazy ride.
So, and this reminds me of the quote that always gets attributed to John Paul von Goethe. Once you declare, a whole host of unimaginable things come into alignment to help you fulfill on that, that which you have said you would accomplish. I just completely ruined that quote, but I'll put it in the episode show notes.
No, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
The universe conspires to help you achieve your goals.
Yes.
Like everything. Yeah.
And so,
and that's what happened.
Right. And so tell us some of the magical things that happened along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, like I said, I started side hustling, and before I got into freelance writing, I was doing pretty much anything I can find on TaskRabbit and Craigslist. I was a brand ambassador. I was a pet sitter. I was a house sitter. I was an event assistant. One of my most weird, fun gigs was selling water bottles at an overnight rave in a warehouse. Pretty much any gig that I could find that was legal, I took. And so I was working already, every night and every weekend because, I was making $10 to $12 at that time. And I was like, I cannot afford to pay my rent and my student loans. And, I had federal student loans at that point, and I could have gone on an income-based repayment plan and significantly lowered my payments. But I didn't want to because I felt like that would make me too comfortable and deter me from my goal. So I was like, I'm going to keep these high payments as long as I can and just keep that as fuel for the fire. And it worked. I just kept hustling. And, so I did all of those kind of in-person side hustles. And then, the blog really opened my eyes to all of these online side hustles that I had no idea that people could actually make money doing. You can make money freelance writing, you can make money editing, social media, affiliate income from your blog. And these are all things that I did to make money. And, like I said, I built up a business within, a year of getting that nonprofit job that allowed me to make double what I was making at that nonprofit job. And so, there was that. And then, through paying off my debt, there was an opportunity to write a book, to turn my blog into a book, which was really amazing. And through all of these kind of side hustles and blogging and creating a community, I also started planning events. I started working with my colleague, Tanya Rapley. We've done blogger influencer events where we connect brands and bloggers. And we've had so many fun events over the past couple of years. And, it's really been awesome to be able to kind of turn my skills into something that is my own and really being able to create my own business that, it really helped me get out of debt. I think a lot of people really focus on kind of the cutting back aspect of, personal finance, cut out the lattes and cut coupons and, make sure you're saving money, which I think is a really great initial strategy. Of course, it's an initial first thing that you can do.
Sure.
But what I found is you can cut back everything and still not have enough.
Yeah. If you're making $12 an hour, it ain't going to help much.
Yeah, exactly. I had cut back everything and I thought, wow, like, unless I stop eating or move back in with my parents, like I can't cut back anymore. And so
I did both those things, by the way. Moved back in with my mother and literally didn't stop eating, but I went to eating just one meal a day. I was like, well, it's really expensive to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so I'm just going to buy a big lunch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There you go. Extreme strategies.
So I just realized that I really had to earn more to really make the progress I wanted. And, with the kind of sharing economy that's going on today, I think there are way more opportunities than there were when I was paying off debt. And so I think, if you want to earn more, there are a lot of ways to do that online, in person, through creating your own side business. I think there are so many ways to make money, and you just need to be open to those, because there are ways that you can make money that maybe you're not even thinking of.
Yeah. And I want to go back to something you said, almost 3 minutes ago or something like that now. But you said you had the opportunity to go on income-based repayment, which essentially means you have to promise the government that you're only going to make subsistence level wages, and then they'll reduce your debt or your implicit debt by sort of phasing out your debt over time. And I have complained about this strategy on this show before, because it's like, okay, now you can't have a higher income though. That's the problem, right? And instead of doing that, which is, I think, a short term, I mean, I can, hear the siren song of it. Wait, they'll reduce my debt for free. I get it. I'm not immune to that, but you treated it like, no, I'm actually training myself. I'm in the Olympic trials for income increases, right? Exactly. I want a high income. I want to train myself to see financial opportunities and to go close them. And that's really one of the things I've noticed about working with you on Profit Boss Live is, you have such an optimistic assumption about how things are going to go. Oh, well, if we contact 10 influencers, of course, 5 or 7 are going to be interested, whereas someone else's mindset might be more pessimistic. Why would they want to partner with me? Why would they want to do that? And I think, I've really noticed that in terms of you seem to look out on the landscape and see opportunities, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, I think, I've been able to really see that over the years, that there are opportunities out there if you're looking for them. And, one thing that I've really been able to hone through my blog is the power of community. I've built a community with my blog. I've built a community through different events. And so I think being able to have people in your corner is so important in your financial journey, and especially when you're looking to make more money, because people can refer you, people can help you out, and, nobody's doing this alone. And, kind of back to your point about income-based repayment, I was just not interested in kind of, just kind of having my income be this low amount and, giving this amount of money to my student loans, and then kind of just getting comfortable, because I think that you can get kind of trapped into that. And then also, a lot of people are on those plans hoping for student loan forgiveness. But I mean, at that point, like, this is the first year that loans are actually going to get forgiven. And there's still so many questions about how that's going to work and what's going to happen. Is it really going to stay here? And I just didn't want to participate in a program where there was not tangible results yet.
Right.
And also, now that I've done more research and I've written a lot about student loans, is, you're going to get taxed on the amount that's forgiven under these income-based repayment programs. I don't think a lot of people know that. I didn't know that. If you're on the public service loan forgiveness, you will not be taxed on your forgiven amount. But if you're on an income-based repayment plan, you will be taxed on the amount that is forgiven. So, if you have $40,000 forgiven, you might get a hefty tax bill if you're not careful and you're not aware.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I just always like for my Profit Boss Radio listeners to think of, it's almost like, think of your mind as a moneymaker. How can you develop your moneymaker? How can you become someone who sees opportunities where before you saw none? I mean, the difference between me and Sir Richard Branson is he sees things I don't see, right? He started what would become a global record label. Virgin Records was his first real gig. I mean, if you said to me, Hillary, let's start a global music label, I'd be like, well, that seems like a really big undertaking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I've busted through a bunch of money mindset obstacles, money blocks, but not all of them. And I just like for people to be thinking about how can you be increasing the size of your opportunity identifier.
Yes, I love that. And I love, cultivating the idea of your brain as a moneymaker. I love that idea.
So let's talk about community. Talk a little bit about how did having support around you as you were paying off debt, how did that help move you forward?
Having the accountability of a blog was so amazing. And I can't, overstate that enough. I had no idea that accountability was really what I was missing because, when you think about personal finance, technically it's really as easy as spend less, earn more, save money, pay off debt. There's these really simplistic concepts, but people struggle with them so much because, money mindset issues. And also no one really has accountability partners keeping them in check. And so through the blog, I had monthly updates about how much debt I paid off, how much progress I made. Some months were better than others, but I had created a community of people that were cheering me on. And, I didn't want to disappoint them and I didn't want to write like, oh, I didn't put that much to debt this month. I was encouraged to, want to put a lot of money towards debt so that my readers would continue to support me. And then also to show other people what's possible because, I think before I committed to paying off debt, I thought, well, I don't know anyone that's paid off this amount of money. Like no one I know has ever paid off this amount of debt. And it wasn't until I discovered personal finance blogs that I realized, wow, there are people out there that actually have paid off this amount of money. And so I think it was important for me too, to show other people in my community who are also struggling with debt that it was possible. And it was impossible on a pretty low income at that time. And, even when I doubled my income, it was about $60,000 at that point. So not, it wasn't six figures.
And I think that making that they call it a BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. I hate that acronym. I don't know why I just said it. I hate that word hairy. You had your great big goal and you didn't know how you could accomplish it. And so you started with just a declaration, but through fulfilling on your word and keeping your commitment to what became a larger and larger audience over time, you became a leader. You went from scared, uncertain, and then to a position of leadership where now, you run communities.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And I'm really, trying to give back to people in debt in my community and show people that it's possible and, tell them not to give up. I have a lot of people contact me who are just so depressed and overwhelmed with their debt situation. And I think it's, really important to inspire hope and change, and then also give people the tools and resources to actually take those first steps, because I think accountability and tools are really what is going to help people, because I feel like people kind of know what they should do, but they don't really know how to get started. And they really need that accountability and kind of coaching to really move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do it in a black hole, especially if you've got a group of girlfriends who are out at the martini bar every Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, those cocktails add up. So we both agree that having accountability and friends you could call partners in your endeavors is going to support you along the way. And then what gave birth to kind of the brainchild of the Lola Retreat? How did that get concepted and started?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, my colleague Tanya and I had done some events, and I've done some events on my own. And we had this kind of focus on women and money for a few events. And I had met Emma Patty at FinCon, I think last year. And she was really interested in creating this feminist finance event. And, I kind of just emailed her and said, hey, I'm interested in learning more about this feminist finance event you're interested in creating, and here's what I've done in the past. Like, maybe there's a way that we can partner. Totally just emailed her out of the blue, wanting more information, kind of low key pitched myself. And, we had a long talk, and we were kind of on the same vision about what we wanted to do to support women. And we felt that there was a lot of, kind of conversations that were lacking and tools that were lacking in the personal finance community. A lot of them were kind of white male oriented, geared toward a certain demographic. And, we really wanted to create a retreat for women, specifically millennial women, though, of course, anyone could come to the retreat. But, anyone that is really wondering, what are the next steps? How do I even get started with budgeting? How do I get started with paying off debt? What should I know about real estate? What do all these investment things mean? Because no one really gets that personal finance education. And I think it's so important for women specifically because we're living longer. We're becoming the breadwinner more often. We take care of children, our families. There's so many reasons why financial education is so vital for women. And so Emma and I were really on the same page with creating this retreat. And, we started talking in October of last year. And, we had so many meetings probably until December. And, we were kind of just chatting and kind of fleshing the idea out. And, I said, what, by January 1st, we really need to have a plan. Like either we're going to do this or we're not, because we're chatting a lot.
You're like, I'm getting off the pot.
Yeah, no, we both had so much fear. I mean, especially me, I had a lot of fear because I had just gotten out of debt and I was like, I can't get into business debt. Like this is a big undertaking. Like this is going to be a lot of money. This is going to be a lot of time. Like, we both had a lot of reservations because it is a huge undertaking. And, we finally just committed to the idea. We launched February 14th on Valentine's Day, and we had our first Lola retreat in August, 6 months later. I was really happy that we kind of launched really early so that we can kind of build up the community and the brand. Because to be honest, the first couple of buyers bought when we had no information on the website. Yeah. It was like, it's going to be in Portland and it's going to be a women in money retreat. Like we didn't have the speakers booked yet. We just kind of had a basic outline of what it would look like. So I really appreciate those buyers because they had faith. And, I think Emma and I have been to so many events where, people are great. They tell their story and you're so inspired, but you're left and you're not really sure what you should do with that,
Right. And people can only soak up so much, right?
Yeah.
They need a couple action steps to get them into momentum. But then I think at some point it can become overload.
Exactly. I feel like, there's so many, and I love those inspirational talks and it's great, but, you're kind of just stuck like, okay, I'm inspired, but what do I do next?
Okay, so for Profit Boss Radio listeners, if we can possibly do that in a podcast interview, have kind of a visceral experience of what is it really like to walk into a room where all the women are interested in and willing to talk to you about financial success and financial progress. I mean, it's just so unique because, it's so hard to get into a conversation with your girlfriends about the realities of money. So would you talk about what it was like to be there and what the attendees said and maybe some lessons that you learned?
Yeah, it was so amazing to be there. And I think everyone there was really hungry for that content. And so to be able to be in a room with other people with similar goals was already kind of a shift in energy, right? And the number one thing that we heard from all of the women attending was that they wanted to meet like-minded women. We asked them, do you want to learn most about budgeting or investing or, meeting new people? What are you most excited about? And the number one answer by far was meeting like-minded women. So, to be able to have that built-in community and that kind of baseline common goal was really great. It made coming together quite easy, actually. And, I think it was really great to just connect with people from all over the country, who were coming to this retreat, all wanting to change their finances. It felt like a really positive environment, like a really supportive environment, having kind of those open conversations as well. People were asking really great questions. People were having conversations on the side. We really tried to have, a nice lunch and some nice breaks so that people could connect with each other. And then we also had a Sunday brunch where people can kind of recap with each other and continue the conversation. It was giving me so much life at that point. I was dealing with a lot of personal stuff at that time. I was going through a breakup right when Lola Retreat happened. Ugh. And just being there really lifted me up and put me on a different kind of level and kept me going. I think, when women gather, one of my favorite quotes is, when women gather, magic happens. And I think that's exactly what happened that weekend.
I was just going to say that. It just does feel magical, right? I mean,
yes.
Not every time, but certainly in the communities you create and in the communities I create, because you have to make sure that catty energy isn't present, and it's sort of easy to not encourage that to attend. And then I just feel like it's such a nurturing environment. There's so much love present, and it's love that feeds you and fuels you, even, days and weeks after the connection is made. And it's been so cool to connect with you. I mean, Rachel just reached out to you, I think, to find out some logistical things, or maybe just to connect with you about your event. And it turned out, that you were willing to come on board and help us plan Profit Boss Live. And so I'm looking forward to a lot of your lessons learned really pulling through at the event, and to creating that really nurturing, judgment-free environment that people will find very motivating.
Yeah, I am so excited to be helping out with Profit Boss Live. I think it's such a great extension of what we did at Lola. And I think, the great thing about your program in particular is that it really is focused on building wealth. Our event was kind of a basic money 101 kind of crash course of finance, but I really love that yours is so specifically about building wealth and having a wealth plan. And so I'm so excited to meet the women that are going to be there, to learn from you, and to really create a community of women that are like, yeah, I'm going to get my investments right. I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And I'm going to, have a supportive network of all these girlfriends that are here now.
Yeah, I've been really working on the content and thinking about kind of the energy of the event. And, I think it's really unavoidable to spend the first part of the day working on the emotions of money, really discovering what is it that keeps you tight-lipped about money? What is it you won't say? What is it you say to yourself that's really poisonous about money, right? And kind of really just being honest about those things. But then I've also created this, because everyone's going to leave with a custom wealth plan. And so it's kind of fill in the blanks. We're even going to have calculators there for people to, so first we'll talk about the emotions of money. What's your money story? What are your money blocks? And then we'll really get into, okay, so now I'm creating something new. What's my financial freedom number? Right? And how fast do I want to get there? And you have some experience with that, putting a stake in the ground and saying, I'm going to get to 68,000 in 4 years, and actually getting there in 3. It's like, the power of decision. So giving everybody the opportunity to make that decision, and we'll have whiteboards up on all 4 corners of the room. People get to write their new money declarations on them. I'm so excited to take pictures of all those money declarations.
Yes, I love it. That's so great.
Very cool.
Have it written down and start those goals. And I love that you're focusing on the emotions too, because I think a big part of making money and earning money and building wealth is about getting rid of old money stories that aren't serving us anymore. And, I think for me with student loans, I had so many stories like, oh, student loans are the good debt, or everyone has student loans. And I had to really get rid of those stories to pay off debt. And I need to say, I need to stop being part of the status quo and really get rid of those stories and, create my own story. So I love that.
It really is all about those things we say to ourselves, right? Like, I deserve that extra piece of pie. Okay, that's your story about it, but does it fit with your nutrition goals, right?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, no matter which direction you look in terms of money and finances, you can find a colloquialism to go with it. So it really is about creating those goals and then letting the goals tell you what to do.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Melanie, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that all my listeners are going to have a chance to meet you at Profit Boss Live.
Yay.
For those of you listening, you have a few more days to get tickets at the early bird price, which is just $225. I think there's a couple dollars for the Eventbrite fees, but the early bird price is $225, and you can get those tickets at profitbosslive.com. Can't wait to see you in San Jose. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Profit Boss Radio. If you liked it, share it with an artist or creative that you love. And whether you're a painter or a mathematician, may you have all the freedom and prosperity you want. Thank you for listening to this episode of Profit Boss Radio. If you liked it, share it with an artist or creative that you love. And whether you're a painter or a mathematician, may you have all the freedom and prosperity you want.